How's that?
That's awesome. It's an honor to speak to you, Kody. For the audience to know, this is Kody Merritt, a man who's quickly becoming a legend in arm wrestling. And this is our first arm wrestling podcast of biohacking and arm wrestling with my coach, Vazgen, who will be leading the discussion.
So if I understand this correctly, this is your first time doing a podcast and you chose me?
Absolutely. The first time doing the arm wrestling podcast, but my channel has probably 5 or 6 podcasts going in different subjects.
Okay.
We're trying to get...
You could have chose much better arm wrestler than I.
Vazgen was adamant. Adamant, absolutely adamant that it must be you. We chose actually Malin Kleinsmith from Sweden as the second one. I chose her actually because I love Malin and I wanted to get some gender diversity. But Vazgen would not start until we could get you on.
She is much better looking than I. That's for sure.
Okay, why Kody? Because he is the hero of today, and nobody knows that. And he did something that nobody can do. I always love to watch and read stories about hero athletes, especially from Olympic Games. From athletics, like running 10,000 meters when they get injured and they still finish the race, or 2004 Athens Olympic Games, a judo fighter who won bronze medal with broken wrist.
Wow.
So he was from Russia, and there was a audience in Kremlin, and President of Russia, Putin, especially came to him and hugged him for doing such a big thing for the country.
Yeah, well, the President of the United States hasn't called me at all.
I will let him know.
Okay. Okay. Just do it before Biden gets put in. I'd much rather it be Trump.
Yeah, exactly. That's...
Yeah,
so, Kody, could you maybe give our audience a bit of background about you, like where you grew up, how you got into arm wrestling, just briefly?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Like bio, like when you started, what age you started?
Okay, so well, I grew up in northern Utah. I was born in Wyoming, but grew up in northern Utah. So I've lived in Utah pretty much my entire life, since I was like 5 years old. Kind of always was into athletics when I was younger. Sports, I loved basketball, I loved football. I actually went to college to play football.
Oh, wow.
And then when I was in high school, well, first of all, in middle school, we had a math teacher who had been doing arm wrestling way back in the 80s. And I didn't know this at that time, but every year he would put together a arm wrestling tournament for our school. And we would do it on desks, and he had put those, those long chalkboard erasers. He would tape those to the desk, and those were the pin pads. So we did that each year. And when I was in middle school, I won that every year. And it was funny because I'm right-handed, but for some reason or another, I didn't even try to do it right-handed. I just said, I'll do it left-handed. And so I won that every year with my left hand. And then in high school, they would do a similar type challenge, but it was for different age groups. So all of the seniors would be a group, and then juniors and sophomores and freshmen. And as a freshman, I won that right-handed every year. I beat all the older kids and everything.
Wow.
And that was without having any type of training. It was just, I guess you'd call it country strong. So I grew up in the country. I've just been kind of a farm boy my whole life. And then after that, I went on a mission for my church for 2 years. And when I came home, I met Robert Baxter, who is an arm wrestler. And I ended up actually marrying his wife's cousin. So wow. Robert was kind of my cousin by marriage type thing. And I ended up going to work for him after we got married, and he got me into arm wrestling. So that's kind of when I started. I started when I was probably, I want to say 23 or 24, somewhere in there. and I'm now 47. So that's how long I've been arm wrestling.
A quick question. You're a Mormon, I suppose, because of the. Oh, fantastic. Okay, that.
Yep. Yeah.
So
So
it
it's
took you
it's a
like
church of-
20 years
20.
to win the world title.
So it was actually like 20, I want to say 24, 23 or 4 years before to win the world title.
Kody,
It was last
and
year.
I don't know if anybody told you, all your 20 years of arm wrestling tournaments in America, in this bar and that bar and here, in garbage tournaments, all 20 years victories altogether is nothing to compare to that one thing you did in the world championship.
Oh, I
They
know
don't
that.
talk about this in the United States because they don't have this. You are the only guy who won the world title since 2010 World Championship, which was in the United States.
Yeah.
Now they have some fake World Federation, which
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a weird situation that you'd go to the world championship and there'd be like maybe 50 or 60 people in your class and 45 of them are American.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
not too
didn't make
serious.
sense to me.
So for the audience to understand, Vazgen's referring to the 2020 or 19 WAL.
19. Last
19,
year
yeah.
we didn't have any.
Yeah, that's why. So the last WAL, which was you in the finals versus a Turkish gentleman, I'm forgetting his name. Arfan, maybe?
Yeah, it was. I struggle with how to pronounce his name, but it was.
Me too. Yeah.
Oh heavens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arf, exactly. And
Yeah.
which yeah, go ahead.
And also, Kody, I want to talk about. I saw your T-shirt in Hawthorne in the bar. It says Kody wins the world title, sponsored by Buck Hall.
Yes.
And you know, this is something that you can say thank you to the sponsor.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this story, how you met Buck, how it started, and how it like ended.
Well, so
it will be when we doing the interview.
You want me to talk about it now, or is that what you're saying?
So when we start the interview, right?
Oh, we've actually started the interview.
Okay, so let's
this is
question.
the funny. So we like to keep it casual on this channel. So we start the interview early. If we need to cut out anything, we cut it out later. It's fine.
Yeah. So this is like easy conversation.
Yeah.
So the question is, when last year we went to Hawthorne for the, I guess, Nevada State tournament, and your Team USA T-shirt and your medal was on the wall framed in the bar, and it says Kody Merritt won the World Championship 2019 in Romania, in Constanța, and the sponsor was Buck Hall, who is a great guy.
He's a great guy, amazing guy.
And he's the owner of that bar, and he's the mentor and the main guy of doing the tournament in Hawthorne, Nevada, already for many years. He's putting his everything to make this thing happen. So can you tell how this started and how you guys just met and how the things started to going on? Like the whole story of that sponsorship, great. I had sponsors, and I know it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Like they're the greatest guy. If I become a rich guy, I will do the same for others.
Yeah, I would too. If I could afford it, I would help people do the same thing because it is an amazing opportunity. So the way I met Buck Hall was at that tournament in 2019 when I went to the Hawthorne tournament for the first time I'd ever been there. And when I got there, I was with Bob Brown, and Buck Hall came up and introduced himself to us. I didn't know who he was at all at the time, but he was super nice, really nice guy, and just really enjoys arm wrestling. And he doesn't even arm wrestle. He's just, he likes to support the local team. And that tournament he does it's a really big charity event for an individual that grew up in Hawthorne and has since died. But it's a fundraiser for his, they do some sort of a charity for him, and that's what it's for. but I started talking to Buck and got to be pretty good friends with him. And I was also really good friends with, oh goodness, I can't think. Who's the other guy that helps with all the Williams?
Williams, who held the tournament?
Yeah, at the tournament in Hawthorne. He's the one that sets up all the super matches. Oh my goodness, he's going to punch me in the face because I'm really good friends with him, and I can't think of his first name right now.
Hey, don't worry. We all have those issues.
He's a great guy, big guy, nice guy. He was always, hold on.
Is it? I want to say Kim, but it's not Kim.
No. Okay.
We
also want to thank his wife, Casey, for
Yeah.
getting all those connections, setups, and accommodations, everything for the athletes. They always provide hotel, 3 days free food in the bar for all those super much competitors. This is like something that you can't see everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
but I just started I started to become really good friends with those guys, and I knew that I wanted to go to Worlds. I felt like I had a really good shot at winning the Masters division. I thought I could do that. And so I talked to Buck and I said, would you be willing to help me go? I don't make a lot of money at what I do, and I could really use the help, and I knew he really liked arm wrestling. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, how much do you think it would cost to get there? And I said, it'll probably be about $3,000 for room, hotel, flights, all that kind of stuff. And he said, give me a couple of days, let me think about it. And he and his wife talked about it, Cassie, and they called me back and said, we'll do it. And so if it wasn't for him, I might not have been able to go to Romania. I might not have been able to afford to be able to go there. And that opportunity might never even come. But because of Buck and Cassie, they made it possible for me.
For the audience, just to understand quickly, this is such a momentous event because you are the first person to win at the WAL since, I think, Travis Bagent. Is that correct, Vazgen?
It's the WAF.
No, World Championship,
Yeah,
World Arm Wrestling Federation.
Not WAL, but has the last American winner in the heavyweights been Travis Bagent in 2003 or
no? Dave Chafee, 2010.
Oh, Dave
But
Chafee.
he did it in the 242 class, the 110 kilo class.
Okay.
Travis was the last super heavyweight to do it.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what I got confused.
Yeah, he did it in 2003.
I talk about the last gold medal. Team
yeah.
USA in seniors, because masters or juniors, they like in count, they are separately.
Yeah.
Seniors are the main. Yeah.
And you won both masters and seniors?
I did.
Right.
So I decided to enter the seniors just to see. I thought I could compete, but I didn't know where I stood with them. The Europeans they're a whole different ball game of arm wrestling. It's a different type of whole. It's all different. Mm. And I felt like I was good enough to compete, but I didn't know I didn't ever think I would win it. That was I just wanted to be there to try, especially after having arm wrestled 3 days in a row. That was the tough thing, because masters left was the first one. Then the next day I did masters right. I took third in that class. And then the next day was seniors left. And my arm was on fire. It was screaming at me about halfway through that day. But it's crazy. It hurts really bad when you're sitting out waiting for your name to be called. But when you get to the table, you don't feel anything.
Adrenaline.
And adrenaline is amazing. I wish they could figure out how to bottle that stuff up, because
we do know how to.
Nice to have.
Yeah,
they do.
Oh yeah, you could get some adrenaline if you'd like. There's a lot of things you can do with that.
I didn't know that. I was just doing it as a joke.
I remember that day because it was the day after my losing weight. That was a recovery day for me, and it was recommended for me just to stay in the room, to eat, drink, sleep, to be ready for the right hand day.
Yeah.
And then when they told me Kody won first place, me was like, wow, this is amazing.
Momentum.
This is something that we all Americans couldn't do all together, and Kody did it. You can win WAL or other leagues, tournaments, but those are all domestic.
Yeah.
This is the World Championship. And the guy from Team USA wins the most prestigious weight class. And this is like, wow, everybody like, who is this guy from Team Russia? Other teams, they come to ask me like, Vazgen, do you know this guy? Because they know I know all the dark waters, everybody in the Team USA. I say, I don't even know him. This is somebody that you guys, you couldn't handle.
Well,
And
This was an amazing day.
You had kind of met me before. I met you at Hawthorne that year.
Yeah, when I brought my friend Armen Chapukyan,
yeah,
he came to America and I said, listen, this Nevada state is going in 2 days. Let's go together. He said, yeah. So we went to Hawthorne, Nevada, and Armen entered same class that you, and I think he beat Rome Bath, lefty, and he lost to you.
yeah.
But there is separate story with Rome Bath and Armen, because in 2006 World Championship in Manchester, England, Armen beat first. He beat Ron, and then in finals he lost to Ron.
Wow.
And Armen took second place. Ron took first place. So this was his revenge since 2006. But later he meets you and he loses. And I asked, like, what happened? I don't even really know this guy. He's like, he's strong. Like, I couldn't do anything. I said,
Well, I remember that Bob and you had a bet on that day that Armen would win.
Bob was saying Kody will left. I said, Armen is here. You're supposed to win this. Like, no, okay.
And the fascinating thing is, how old were you when you won the WAF seniors title in 2019?
46.
Is that the oldest that someone's ever been when they won the seniors, Vazgen?
I don't know, but all Americans who win, especially in heavyweights,
Yeah.
all Americans in heavyweights generally, they are like
40s?
We're all
in
fat.
their 40s. Yeah.
No.
You can't see anyone like 25 years old winning the super. This is some in heavyweights in America. It's something special. People are in, let's say, middle ages.
Mm.
Yeah.
In lightweights, middleweights, they're younger, but probably men's power or something, or life in America makes people strong in their 40s. I don't know, but if you check all heavyweights, let's say Tim Bresnan. How old is he?
Yeah, good point.
He won all his vendettas, and he had 3-3 with Rustam Babaev.
Yeah.
And he's like not 40, he's 50 something.
Yeah. I don't know why it is, but it does seem like the people that are at the top of the game in the U.S. are like me and Michael Todd are the same age. Like
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guy you beat, Arif, he's beaten Levon left-handed before.
I
just
heard
for the
that
audience
later.
to realize, yeah.
So with that day, kind of walked through that day. I had seen Arif before, like I'd seen videos of him, but he wasn't the one that I was worried about. I was actually worried about the other Turkish guy.
Osmanli?
Osmanli, yes. That's the person I was really worried about because I knew who he was and he was phenomenal, or he is phenomenal.
Yeah, Ferid Osmanli or Usmanov before.
Yes.
He was from Uzbekistan, sorry. And I think his grandmother was Turkish. Then he moved to Turkey and got Turkish citizenship.
Yeah. And I'd watched video on him and he was the person I was really worried about. And when I met him in the brackets in the tournament, he actually ended up fouling so the first go, he hit and I hit backwards and I took his wrist, flopped his wrist pretty easily, and then he elbow fouled. We got a restart, and then we couldn't get a grip. They put us in a referee's grip, and as they were setting our grip, he curved his hand in and he got a second foul. So I never even really had to arm wrestle him, which I feel like I was pretty lucky that day that he fouled out against me. But I did take his hand pretty easily.
Does he get
So
his Vazgen? Does he get his hand taken easily? I don't think so. Oh, Vazgen, your audio is off. Your audio is off. Let me go to the bottom left of your screen. You'll see a mic. Then there's an arrow. Click test speaker and what's
he
it
probably
called?
just has it muted.
He may have muted it. But from his side, it's not from my side. So you just go and say test speaker and microphone, the arrow next to the mic. While you're doing that, you're connecting. So yeah, that's an incredible feat to take his hand. I mean, Ferit Osmanli is no joke.
Yeah, he was the one I was worried about. I didn't even know, like I had seen videos of Arif, but Ferit was the one that I was really concerned about that day.
Oh, Vazgen, you're muted now for sure. I'll ask you to unmute. Wait, I'm doing it. You should get a request. So I'm sorry, Kody.
No, it's
This is
fine.
our first go, so we're gonna have some mistakes, but we're honored to have you here, really.
No worries. I'm honored to be here.
Okay, now I've asked him to unmute, but he's playing some games, so we'll continue to talk with him.
He hit it and then hit it again.
Yes, you saw that? Yeah.
I did.
All right. So you were saying you were worried about Ferit, but then he fouled out basically. But how did he feel when you did take his hand? He was very powerful.
Well, when I took his hand, the foul came relatively quickly after that, so I never really got to feel his arm strength. But if he's anything like Arif's arm was incredibly strong. Like I could not believe he had like a sticky point in his like his bicep, like it wouldn't move. And so if he was anything like Arif, I would have been worried about that big time, because they're both incredible arm wrestlers. And yeah, I knew that Team Turkey was the team to beat for sure that day.
Yeah, there's been some speculation. Vazgen, are you back with us? No, not back. Okay. Vazgen, on the bottom left, you just keep doing test speaker and microphone, and you can keep changing the speaker or the microphone, but I guess you hear us, so it's just your microphone. It's probably switched to something else. In the meantime, there was some speculation. I mean, I've heard some people say that the 2019 had less of a deep lineup, but I mean, what did Osmanli? So he fouled out, so he didn't place.
No, he fouled out against me, and then I want to say that he fouled out again in the B-side bracket as well.
Oh.
I don't remember. I think he was like fifth. I think he finished fifth. I don't remember for sure, but somewhere around there.
Okay.
Maybe fifth or sixth. I can't remember exactly.
Hey, Vazgen, you can just leave the chat and leave the thing and reopen it, maybe, if you want. We can lip read him though. Anyway. No, but I mean, it's such an incredible feat. I mean, nobody's won it, like we said, since Travis Page in 2003. So.
The other thing that I found out later that I was like, I think is even more impressive than being the first American in so many years, is there's only two or three other people that have ever won the Masters and the Open or the Seniors class in the same year.
Yeah, I would assume so. That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Ron Bath was one of them.
Wow.
I think that Ingen did it in 2018.
Yes, I remember that.
And then and myself, there might be one other. I don't know the name, but it's a very short list of people that have ever done that.
When Engen became Optimus Prime in 2018, I don't know if you saw how different he looked. He was on his game. That was his year.
Yeah, I was there. I took second in Masters that year. So I went to that one as well.
So so have you been improving across these 20? I mean, did you ever, because your name wasn't thrown around so much 10 years ago, for example, like you weren't a household name.
I'll tell you why. Because I took a 9.5-year hiatus away from arm wrestling.
Oh.
I went through my first marriage. We had a little bit of struggle. She didn't care for me doing the arm wrestling. So I quit arm wrestling. We went through a divorce, and then I just never went back to arm wrestling until like right around the midsummer of 2015. My wife, my new wife, and I were watching ESPN, watching the WAL finals on TV, and the left-hand championship match was Travis Bagent and Eric Woffel. And before I had like retired or left arm wrestling, I'd never arm wrestled Travis, but I had wins over Eric Wafel.
Oh, wow.
And I said to my wife, I remember I looked at her and said, that's my money, because they gave second place, got $10,000. And I'm like, I can win that money. I asked her if she was okay if I started training, and she said, sure. Wow. And we haven't looked back since then. So now you're muted, Vazgen.
Yeah, now you're muted. If I were you, I would just leave the conversation, exit it, restart your computer, go open your email again and get back in it. Oh, he's gone. All right, so we'll continue talking. That's incredible. So you've always been a family man. You've always been a family man. So you check with your wife. Do you have kids also?
I have a daughter. Yes, one daughter.
I've seen her.
21 years old now. She's redheaded, all red, real long redhead, curly hair.
You were arm wrestling with her in a little video clip I was watching on YouTube earlier today.
Yeah, she actually, when we went to Turkey for the World Championships in 2018, she loves to travel. Like, that's her ultimate thing. She loves to go and visit new places. And I told her, I said, hey, I'll take you to Turkey if you qualify for Worlds. So she started training, because she'd arm wrestled when she was a kid. She's got multiple state championships. And
really?
Yeah. But then she started playing competitive volleyball, and I wouldn't let her arm wrestle anymore because I didn't want her to hurt her arm or anything playing for volleyball. But she's like, I said, we'll take you to Turkey if you qualify. So she actually went to nationals that day to go in the junior class. But nobody showed up at nationals in the junior class. So we put her in the women's open class, seniors class, and she took second that day.
Wow.
So she qualified for the seniors and for juniors because there were no juniors there. But she went to Worlds with us to Turkey, and she ended up with a fifth and a seventh or fifth and a sixth finish, right and left-handed, something like that.
Unbelievable. So this is a genetic thing. This is going on throughout your family.
Well, I wish she'd get more serious about it, because I think she could be a phenomenal arm wrestler, but she doesn't love it like I do, I guess.
Is she tall? Is she, she's tall?
She's 5'11", 6 foot, somewhere right down there.
Wow, my wife is 6 foot tall. I'm 5'10", so it's a little funny when we walk around together. Yeah. But
you get to wear the heels?
I'm the one who needs to. Well, I wear cowboy boots sometimes, so I get away with it. But then if she wears heels, then I'm done.
There you go. Yeah, I actually, that's another thing. I always arm wrestle in cowboy boots, except for at Worlds, they won't let me.
Are you serious? How come?
Yeah, I like it. That's my thing.
Yeah, I love cowboy boots. I have tons of them. Yeah. Actually, I love where you were born, Wyoming. I've always been thinking of moving there. I also went to Utah recently and was shocked by the beauty. I grew up in Colorado, or I spent a lot of time there. It's very beautiful, but it's changed a lot with the immigration after they legalized cannabis and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, it's a different kind of people there. It's not the country kind of people that I grew up with. The cowboy hat was started in Colorado. That's the first place.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, the first place. But it's not like that anymore. Now it's all Democrat and stuff like that. So, Vazgen, are you back? Use your phone. I'll send you link on your phone. Check this out. Sorry about this, Kody.
No. We didn't want Vazgen to be on this interview anyway.
Yeah, let me get this here. So the shocking, for the audience that's listening, the really shocking part after all of this was that what Vazgen introduced the show with, which is this arm break that you had against that happened when you went against for a super match Robbie Topi. I don't know how to say it. Is that Topi?
That's how you say it. Robbie Topi. Yeah,
which I watched. I couldn't even, the first time I saw it, I didn't even notice, and you couldn't even tell that your arm broke. Later,
I could tell.
You could tell us the story. Okay, tell us the story.
So Robbie's an awesome guy, and I didn't really want, when I found out later that my arm had broken, I didn't really want it to get out that bad of how it had broken, because I didn't want it to diminish or take away from Robbie's who he is, because he's a great guy. He's a phenomenal arm wrestler. And I didn't want people to think that Robbie was the guy that got beat by a guy with a broken arm.
Oh, wow. You have
I didn't like that. Robbie and I are good friends. We've known each other for years. And we've kind of gone back and forth. We were about even in our matches. So he wanted to have another shot at me so we could kind of figure out where we were at. And Jeff Frank from the TAL made that happen for us. But in the first match, we arm wrestled very similar, he and I. And we kind of got into our fingers like in a top roll. And we slipped, and then in the strap, in the first time we got in the strap, he basically gave me everything I wanted in the strap, and I couldn't figure out why he did that. And I was able to beat him pretty easily in the first round.
Why do you think he did that? Yeah.
Well, actually,
I mean, you got your position right. He gave you whatever position you wanted.
Yeah. He didn't argue or fight. I got everything I wanted in the strap, and I asked him later, and he just told me he felt confident enough that he didn't need to fight for it.
Two Vazgens.
All right, Vazgen has a twin.
We hear you. Okay, let me get rid of that.
Decide which Vazgen.
1 second, I'll get rid of the other one.
Yeah, I can't decide which Vazgen was uglier.
Vazgen got some competition from me, so we're always going to make our guests look good looking. But
I don't know. I'll check later.
Vazgen, you were hearing what he was saying, so we're talking about the first time they slipped up.
Everything, but you couldn't hear me, so this is now fine.
Great. So you were saying that the first round you slipped, and then he gave you a great position, and you won that one.
Yeah,
and then
I won that one pretty easily. So in the second round, we did the same thing. We gripped up and we kind of hit out into the fingers again. And he was clamping on my thumb, wasn't letting go of my thumb. And I remember like really pronating my arm really hard, and I just hit straight back. And when that happened, I felt my forearm pop.
Oh.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was a broken arm at that time. I thought maybe it was a muscle or a tendon or something like that. But my hand went completely numb. And I could still move it, but I didn't feel like I had any strength in it at all. And so when we went into the strap that time, I couldn't squeeze. I couldn't give any pressure in my hand to battle any of his back pressure. So I had to rely completely on the strap and my pronator to even stay in the match. And I was able to stop him out a little bit out there with he'd take my hand and everything, and I was just kind of stopping him with my pronation. And kind of waited for him to wear out. And I was just hoping that maybe he would get tired faster than me.
A warrior. That's a warrior. Anyone else, just for the audience listening, anyone else who heard something pop would stop, go check out what's going on, probably quit the match. You didn't even, it was not even visible that you noticed it. I guess you did, but you didn't show it.
I couldn't believe this story because once you hear something, you should just stop because you make the trouble even worse. So
I didn't actually hear it. I felt it.
Yeah.
But it was so loud in that room. Like that event was like Travis had that crowd going wild, and it was so loud, so intense. I've been in the room when I've heard like humorous bones break, and you can hear it. It's really loud. So I'm assuming that had the room been like quieter, we probably would have heard that pop. But after the match, I even asked Robbie, I said, my arm popped in the second round. He's like, yeah, I felt it. So he felt it as well.
Oh, wow. Incredible.
Yeah. So I just didn't want to show it that I was hurt. And I just thought it was a tendon or a muscle. And I thought, oh, I can arm wrestle through that. It's popped. It's probably gone. What more damage am I going to do? Right. Just battle through.
Warrior. And then so you were just waiting for him to tire out, and you were holding him with your pronator.
Yeah. And then I was able to give him some side pressure when he get tired and get up behind it and press it down.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
Which after looking at the break from the x-ray later on, I honestly do not know how my arm stayed together. Like the pressure and torque I put on it, it amazes me that I didn't break the ulna bone or something else in there at the same time, because it's just.
I guess there was a major crack in round 2, but you could still available to maintain the move of your arm with your tendon, muscles, and everything. And after round 3, that all break took place already. So
and they very well could have. I don't know. It was looking back at it. Even my doctor, the first doctor I went to, he looked at it. He's like, "This is incredible. I've never seen anything like this. I do not know how it stayed." I showed him the video and he couldn't believe it. He just it's like, "I don't know how that stayed together."
Right.
And he said the only thing he could think of is that the muscles around that bone had kind of worked as a cast, is what he thought.
Yeah,
Right.
just for the audience to understand, the bone that was broken is here, the humerus.
No,
right?
no.
Lower.
The radius bone in my forearm.
Oh,
Right
in the
there.
forearm. Oh, you have the cast on. Oh, I see it.
Yeah. I got
Wow.
this on right now.
That's incredible. That's even.
I don't
harder
even
than-
know how he did it, how he could fight and win that match. But this is something like impossible. This is amazing story, incredible. And I don't remember any story like this in arm wrestling, but in some other sports, especially in Olympic Games, everybody watch Olympic Games. You can see a lot of stories when in athletics, in combat sports, people with major injuries, they can still finish the race or win medal in the fight. This story in arm wrestling, this is story that makes different from all other arm wrestling matches during the year. And we should let people know that this guy is a hero. He's a hero in arm wrestling, athletics. This story should take place in top 10 hero athlete stories in the world, Guy, later you show his x-ray pictures, impossible, just impossible.
Incredible.
I don't know how it happened, and I maybe Vazgen, maybe I've never even heard of like the radius bone breaking in arm wrestling. I've never heard of it before.
I watched that video maybe 10 times. I couldn't see the right moment when it happened. It's like you act like nothing. You just pull.
Well, you can see barely that my arm, like when I'm pulling, it just kind of twitches just a little bit.
Yeah, but
And did you watch the video that Coach Ray made?
Yeah,
From
that's the one I was watching, because he repeated the point that you said, at which you were like this, and he said that's where it happened, but you still can barely see it.
Yeah, it's tough. He slows it right down, and you can just barely see it happen.
Yeah.
But I knew exactly when it was. I knew right in the match when it was. There was no doubt in my mind.
So you just have a spirit. Sorry, go ahead, Vazgen.
There is a moment when we are about your part, Leo, about the biohacking. So when Kody pulls, an injury happens and he can still manage to continue the fight, he is on adrenaline at that moment. Adrenaline, is kind of painkiller.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel any pain when you hit on high adrenaline level at that moment. So in normal situation, let's say he just walks and he fails, he breaks his arm, he will feel like severe pain. But this moment, he's like nothing. He can fight, and he can finish the super match 3 rounds. I had a case when one of my best friends, he broke his arm in a practice. And you don't have adrenaline in practice. It's just a training. He was feeling like severe pain. He couldn't wait when the ambulance comes. And
I
couldn't see that because all my cases were when I see people breaking arms in tournaments. And they are like 3 hours, they don't have any pain. So this is the same case. But you can finish the match because all other guys, they stop, they can't move the arms.
That's because it's normally the humerus bone that breaks in arm wrestling. I've never heard of the radius bone breaking, and it broke exactly the same place where I had my bicep reattached 3.5 years ago. And so
that's another. What happened there?
So in 2017, the WAL finals in Las Vegas. I had qualified for that. We went to Vegas for that tournament, and I felt really good that day. Like I felt like I was in a place that I could do really well. And went through the bracket. I got to the final 4 undefeated. It was Travis Bagent, Ryan Espy, Dave Chafee, and myself were in the final 4.
Wow.
Travis and Dave were on one side of the bracket, and Ryan and I were on the other. And Ryan and I, we gripped up. We had like 2 or 3 different starts, false starts by Ryan, false start by me, elbow foul. So we had like the 4-3 start, and he hits, and my bicep I felt like pop, pop, pop down my bicep. And I knew exactly what had happened. At that point, I knew that I'd pulled the bicep off the bone.
Did your bicep roll up?
It did, but I've got so much fat on my arm, you can't really tell anyway.
No, you don't. Come on, don't exaggerate. But so it did totally. Tendon totally. Yeah. So they had to reattach it lower.
Yeah. So what they do is they drill a hole through your bone.
Yeah.
And they stick your tendon down through that hole and have a little they call it a button, but it's a little stainless steel rod that goes through the hole and catches on the backside and holds the bicep there until the bone can grow back around it.
Yeah.
So this bicep during this radius break, that reattachment had held so strong. It was such a good reattachment that the bone gave before the tendon came off.
Wow. But did it break at the same point where it was lodged in?
So it had the weakness. It kind of cracked. After this, I'll send you the pictures, and you can kind of see exactly where the drill marks were in the bone.
Yeah.
And you can see the crack kind of go right through it.
Interesting. Okay. So there was a weakness in the bone because the steel rod or the whatever metal rod was there.
I don't think it was a weakness. I just think that the torque was so much that something had to give, and that the attachment didn't, so the bone did.
Wow. Incredible. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Vazgen, do you have some more comments before we talk about like how bone growth occurs and stuff like that? Maybe we can add some informative content.
I would like to talk about the recovery stuff. Let's say when injury happens, normally we, U.S. arm wrestlers, we go back home and we go to our family doctor. And the doctor's subject is just to bring us back to normal life. I call it normal citizen life. But arm wrestlers are immortals to me. They need a fighter's life. So we need to find sports recovery doctors, sports medicine. And I Googled all these years trying to find in America the best sports doctors. I found 2 places only. One of them is in New York. The other one is in Los Angeles, UCLA, Southern California University Medicine Center. This one is one of the best in the world.
USC. Yes, USC. Or UCLA, because USC has one of the best sports doctors. Probably. That's Southern California, University of Southern California.
And they have a department of sports medicine, and they try to put athletes back onto the stage or onto our arena. And they don't just tell you, okay, your bone is fine, go home, don't lift anything heavy. They put back you in the sports. But this was like a really expensive idea. And I Googled, if you don't have any insurance or something special. And this center is helping Olympic team for the United States to get recovered and to get back into the stage. So this is very important. When you get injured, you need to find some sports medicine. I don't know if you can afford it or something, but it helps you to get back into your favorite thing.
So I had actually I didn't go to my family doctor when this happened because I knew it was something serious. And this is my 3rd major surgery in the last 3.5 years. Because last December, I pulled my subscapularis tendon out of my right shoulder. Wow. I had to have surgery on that last December.
You're like a cyborg.
Yeah, well, I'm just stupid. I'm a glutton for punishment is what I am. So I went to the doctor that had repaired my shoulder. I liked him. He was really good at it. But when he saw this, it was something he had never seen before ever or dealt with, and he didn't feel confident in working on it. So I got a hold of the guy who had reattached my bicep. He's about an hour or a little over an hour drive from my house. But he actually works for the University of Utah athletic department, does a lot of surgeries for them. So he's done a lot with with athletics and athletes and helping them get back into their sport. As a matter of fact, he actually reattached Todd Hutchins' bicep a bunch of years ago. Todd's the one that gave me his name.
Wow.
So I really trusted him, and I went and he looked at the MRI and the X-rays, and he felt completely confident that he'd be able to fix it. At first, he thought it was going to be a lot harder than it would be, and that it would take a lot more time to heal because he didn't feel like, I guess they have different sizes of plates they can put inside there. Mm-hmm. And he didn't think there was enough room at the bottom half of from the break to the elbow to put the plate there. So he thought he's going to have to do 2 smaller ones instead of 1 big one. Mm. But it ended up, he was able to get the big one in there. And when we came out of surgery, he felt like the surgery went really, really well. And then my recovery be much quicker than he thought it was originally. And the only thing that he was concerned about is as arm wrestlers, we do a lot of supinating and pronating. We use those muscles a lot. And the supinator muscle is a muscle that goes between your ulna and your radius bone. Mm. And he said that when he first talked to me, he said, I had to take your supinator muscle down. It was 100% atrophied. Wow. And I'm like, I knew what atrophied meant. And I thought, oh crap, this is terrible. So I like really fretted about that because it'd take me like 25 years to build that supinator muscle, right? I don't have 25 years to get it back there again, you know?
How many days had it been since the accident when you went in for surgery?
2 weeks.
Surgery, it was almost 2 weeks, like a week. Like it was probably like 12 days, 11, 12 days, something like that.
You were just walking like that, right?
What's that?
You were just walking like that, no cast, nothing.
I had a splint on it. Because I went to the doctor when I got back on Monday, the first doctor. He put me in a splint, and then he ordered the MRI. I got a hold of the other doctor, and it was about a week before I could go see the other doctor after we got the MRI done. So I went in to see the doctor on Tuesday, and he set up the surgery for that very next day.
And then so he said it was atrophied. Then what happened?
Well, when I went and talked to him, when I went last week and got this cast put on, they took me out of the splint, put the cast on. I told him, doctor, I've been really worried. And I said, this is what you said word for word, because I remembered it because it really gave me a ton of anxiety. I told him, I said, you said it was 100% atrophy. He's like, no, I didn't. I said, yeah, that's what you said to me. and he's like, well, I mispronounced. I meant to say 100% hypertrophy or
hypertrophy. That's like bigger. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay.
And I'm like, so what does that mean? He's like, well, that means like way big.
Yeah.
And he said because it was 4 or 5 times thicker, he had to cut from it to move it so he could put that plate on there. So he did have to cut into that muscle, but he said it'll scar up and heal, and I will get that strength back. It'll just take a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. So that really made me feel a ton better, because when he told me that, I was scared. I was in tears. You can ask my wife. It was bad because I just didn't know that the first doctor told me that I might not ever arm wrestle again because he didn't think that my bone could heal right. Wow. And it was terrible. It was like a very emotional. And
he just mispronounced. He used the wrong word and sent you off. He
used the wrong word. Yeah. I knew what atrophied was. I've heard that word a lot, but and he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. But when he told me what it really was, I felt a lot better about it.
I remember Zolo's words when he was complaining to me like he has some pain in his elbow stuff. I said, why you don't go to a doctor? He said, they will find so many weird stuff in my elbow joints. Because we arm wrestlers, we do develop all our tendons and joints and muscle in different way. Like doctors, they never seen that. So atrophy is normal thing for us. Yeah. You are not something different. You are just great. Doing
hypertrophy, great. Yeah. Hypertrophy meaning that the supinator muscle was just so large. He was shocked by it and used the wrong word. Sent you on an anxious.
No one other sport using supinator muscle that much like arm wrestlers.
Yeah. He said, the doctor said, like any other person, I could have cut that thing almost all the way down. They've never noticed it. But he had watched some of my videos that night after our surgery. And he said, you will notice it right off the bat. It will be a big notice to you at first, but it'll come back.
So what did he do exactly? He put a plate to, did he drill like the bones together, or he put a plate?
They put plates and I saw the picture. They put 5 or 6 screws in the bone. So the plate supports the bone when it recovers, and they leave it there. Right,
Yes.
Kody?
As far as I understand, he's going to leave it there because I don't want to have to wait for it to heal again when he takes it out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That'll really screw up your training. And let's talk.
The only problem will be when you travel in airport.
Yeah.
He already has that problem. Now it's just a whole cyborg arm.
Take your arm out of the machine like that.
Yeah. They stop because I carry like all of my warm-up stuff, like my fat grip. But every time I go through the airport, they stop me. No matter, I just know they're going to stop me. So that's just another thing to stop me for.
But by the way, yeah, go ahead.
What's that?
No, go ahead. You wish what?
I really wish while he was in there, he would have just put a hydraulic press in there, and I'd have been really happy.
Hey, by the way, guys, when you go to the airport, you shouldn't let them scan you. By the way, it's not that much radiation, but it's enough that it's not worth it. You can always, many people don't know, you can always opt out. And I'm half Arab, so I already look like a terrorist somewhat, and I still opt out. I'm half white and half Arab, so I still opt out. They're still suspicious of me, but they just pat you down. It's really quick, and you don't need to get that radiation because already when you're in the airplane, you get about 70 times the UV rays that you get when you're on land. So you don't want to get more of that because that basically what that does is end up damaging your cells in your body, make it more likely to get cancers later on.
You're like the bearer of bad news, guy.
No, I'm telling you, guys, you can opt out.
X-ray. I always get that thing in the machine. You know, when you go like there, it's thin like this.
Yeah. I don't do that.
Everybody get that.
No, I say no. I say no, thank you. You can opt out, and they'll pat you down. With a man if you're a man, and a woman if you're a woman. They don't tell you can opt out.
I would like to do that when a woman does that to me. So
I know they won't give you a woman.
One more time.
No, they won't give you a woman. But let's talk a little bit about what happens when a bone breaks. So in the body, just for the audience to know, when a bone breaks, so that week or 2 weeks that you were before you got the surgery, the first thing that happens is blood vessels in the area sort of rupture, and what develops is called a hematoma, where blood is sort of surrounding the fracture area or the break. The hematoma is actually a good thing. So you don't want to get rid of it because the hematoma brings out a lot of growth factors from the blood. The second thing that happens is systemic and localized inflammation, which means these inflammatory cytokines like IL-1 beta, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and many others, including growth factors like fibroblast growth factor, FGF, and other things like that, are sent to the area. So some people, the problem that they think when they break a bone, they go take anti-inflammatory medication. That will make you heal slower.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it will. It will reduce the amount of growth factors you get in the area, and it will reduce the inflammatory cytokines. Now, some people can have too much inflammation, but in general, you don't want to go take...
I get, like, I have a really bad problem with my body. I get tons of blood pooling in the area, which is what I guess we were talking about, the hemoglobin.
Hematoma. Yeah.
And then it gets so bad that my arm starts to ache because there's so much pressure in there.
Yes, that's what that is. But it's bringing a lot of growth factors there.
Yeah.
So I've been reading a lot of academic papers in preparation for this interview because I didn't know much about bone breaks. And the main things that you notice is you don't want to use blood thinners. You don't want to use anything that thins your blood, and you don't want to use anything that's anti-inflammatory right after the bone break for a few days, so that you can let that inflammation go there. It'll get hot. It'll be uncomfortable, but that's actually a healing process. And everyone who uses the anti-inflammatories, they notice they heal slower. Now, the other thing is, like, this channel is actually mostly about, now, Vazgen and I have a series on this channel, and we're always going to link also Vazgen's YouTube channel, which we just brought up again. But this channel is actually about something called biohacking, which basically means how to use, molecules from plants or foods, also from drugs, to improve your life. So I have another series called Biohacking and Bodybuilding. And you guys, of course, know that bodybuilders are the biggest abusers of steroids and all these other kind of things. So we talk a lot about that too. Now, I know you guys may not use this stuff, but I just want to mention for the audience, one of the major advantages of using androgenic signaling, which means testosterone or steroids like that, is they quickly and very rapidly upregulate what's called osteogenesis osteogenesis, which is the creation of new bones, which is why women, like they have problems when they get older, they get bone breakages and stuff like that. Men do also as their testosterone goes down. Well, men on steroids get thicker and bigger bones constantly. So if I were someone that broke a bone, I would take HCG to make sure excuse my language, to make sure my balls keep working. There's something called HCG, which will mean your balls will keep working. And I would go and take testosterone just for a short period of time, not to use it in competition, just to allow the bone to have as much osteogenesis, which means bone creation, as possible. This combined with like high dose vitamin D, like 10,000 units a day, something like that, will really quickly increase the amount of calcium you get. The other approach.
I have a question. I actually am on TRT. My doctor has prescribed me for TRT, and I take 20,000 IUGs of vitamin D every day.
Perfect.
I've done that for years. I love vitamin D. I think it's amazing.
Oh, you have to be careful doing it for years unless you're supplementing with vitamin K2 also. You need to supplement with vitamin K2 because sometimes, like for example, when I was using very high dose vitamin D, something weird happened to me. Like you'll start to notice bone formations in different parts of your body because your body's not used to having that much vitamin D. It's not supposed to, especially as a Caucasian. So for example, what happened to me is one day I just started noticing that my foot starts developing like calcification on one of the joints. They're what they call a bunion. I don't have this in my family. Both of my parents don't have them. I was like, what the hell is this? So I know, and then I lowered my vitamin D, it slowed down. So you don't want, because think of it this way. For example, if you have high inflammation in your body, and how to check that out, by the way, when you get a blood test, you check C-reactive protein. If that's above 0.3, that means you have high inflammation in general. You shouldn't have that all the time. If you do, what happens is the LDL cholesterol particles that are in your blood get lodged into your arteries, and because of the inflammatory factors. So in general, you don't want to have, basically you don't want to have, when these things get lodged in there, the calcification can develop around the plaque. So you don't have high vitamin D all the time because you might get calcification in all kinds of places. By the way, to check if you have calcification in your arteries, there's a test called CAC, the CAC score, which you can test. It's very high radiation, but you can test it once in your life just to see, do you have a lot of plaque, a lot of calcium in your arteries? But anyway, when you're healing from it, obviously high vitamin D, and you might want to double your dose of TRT for a short time period. You might want to do that. That's what I would do. I would go to 500 milligrams or 600 or something for a short time period, just for my bone to heal. But the second thing we could talk about is something called angiogenesis, which means the creation of new blood vessels. That's the most important element of healing for bones. So when that hematoma comes, your body gets all these growth factors and it grows new blood vessels in the area, making sure that you can get as much growth factors as you can. So you think about this, plasma PRP therapy. You've heard of that before?
I've heard of it, yes.
PRP, basically what they're doing is taking your blood out, taking the growth factors from that blood, and then injecting it in another area of your body, like your knee or something. Well, the other way to do that is to just get more blood in the area in general. So when you break your bone, naturally your body wants to create new blood vessels in the area called angiogenesis. But you can speed this up tremendously with like 3 different molecules that I know of that are easy to get. There are way better molecules, they're not being produced. One is called BPC 157, which people can order online. Another is TB500. You may have heard of these before. You can inject these directly in the area. Now you have a cast, so maybe you could do it above it, but it will increase blood vessel growth throughout your body. And another is erythropoietin, which is something that cyclists use and runners use and stuff like that. But erythropoietin tremendously increases blood vessel creation in the body. Problem is it thickens your blood a lot, so you may have to donate a little bit of blood every, or do a phlebotomy at home. But these are some ways to use science to speed that up.
Okay.
We're going to try to do this in every episode where we do a bit of arm wrestling, a bit of like, science stuff.
We need doctors to join our meeting.
You mean my doctor? Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, from the medical side, they don't really use drugs that are pro-angiogenic. And the reason why is because cancers run on that too. So I would never use TB500 or BPC 157 or growth hormone all year, because those things, first, the growth hormone actually directly grows cancers if you have a cancer, but cancers run on blood. Very few cancers can survive in a blood depleted area. So when you have a lot of angiogenesis, like the factor, it's called VEG, it's called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. That one is a very concerning thing for cancers. The more angiogenesis, new blood vessels you have, the more likely the cancer can live. But anyway, I just wanted to mention those couple of things. I know it might not help you, but it might help some of the listeners if they go through it.
Okay,
So
what's the role of HGH to help recovery?
So growth hormone downstream to it has a lot of, so when you take growth hormone downstream to, it's not the growth hormone itself, but downstream to it, it upregulates a lot of other growth factors, like one called IGF-1, one called IGF-1BP. It upregulates VEGF, which I just mentioned, vascular endothelial growth factor. It upregulates angiogenesis. So if somebody couldn't get a hold of BPC 157 or TB 500, which are more specific, you could, I used to do this, you could just take growth hormone, like 4 units of growth hormone or whatever. If you're not scared of cancers and you're doing it just temporarily for a few weeks or a few months, it'll make you recover quicker, for sure. Yeah.
It helps bone just to grow, to rebuild.
It does help bones grow in younger people. But I don't know how effective it is at osteogenesis, which is what you're talking about. But androgen signaling is very effective. Very, very, like primobolan, equipoise, testosterone, they're very effective.
Because I read some studies, they say the skeleton starts to grow just and rebuild itself, but they support HGH. They take it with testosterone same time, because just HGH doesn't have that much impact positive on your body.
Yes, the testosterone, many people don't know, it really thickens your bones tremendously.
Right.
Yeah, many people don't know that. Well, Kody, I have to thank you for being with us. It was such an honor to have you with us, a true hero and a person who has raised the American flag in our sport across the world. No, you're laughing, but you are a hero.
I just think I don't know that it's a hero. It was a great experience. Like, it was a fun event to be at. Probably the best one-on-one match I've ever had. But like Vazgen said, nothing compares to the World Championship. Like, that was, you're in a room full of alpha men, like, and women for that matter. And I was in tears. Like, I was just couldn't believe that I had won a World Championship.
How did you feel after it? Yeah, you didn't tell us. How did it feel for the next few days?
It was like unreal. Like, it was just crazy. I don't know.
The first day or a day after, he feels like he did nothing, but slowly he realizes that he did something great. And when he comes back home, he realizes that he did really great, something that never happened. And by the way, the audience in the back, you can see his Team USA t-shirt framed, his medals.
So actually, that's only 2 of my medals. That's only 2 of the medals. I actually gave one of my gold medals to Buck Hall with the t-shirt I gave him. And that people are like, why'd you give him your medal? I'm like, it would have never happened without him. So I gave him one of my gold medals for that.
Honorable man.
Well, he was a great guy. He's done a lot for our sport and for me, for sure.
And there is something special in this, because Kody is the real world champion from the World Championship. I know people, they call themselves world champions. They never won any world championships. They won one super match. They call themselves world champions.
Yeah.
They're friends with these people, but okay, we love them, but they know this too. This is not something real. This guy is a Team USA member. He's a world champion. And this is solid. This is lifetime.
Vazgen, years ago, I won the Biker World Championship in Nevada at a motorcycle rally. So
is there a motorcycle? Is there a biker one too?
there was years ago. So I don't know if it's still around.
Only this one, okay?
Well, I
won that one right and left-handed 2 years in a row, so I've got 4 of those world championships.
Well, I'm lucky to be associated with both of you. We're real world champions, and we'll continue our series next week, Vazgen. Maybe we should be in contact with Mala, and I'll send her a message and see what suits, and then we'll keep going. Hey, thank you so much, Kody. You really honored us with being here.